Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Did you know that Phil the Groundhog isn't the only thing Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is famous for? That's right, D2 Custom Guns, the home of Dan Heizenreiter and one of the best, fabulous 2011 builders in the country. So make sure you guys go check him out, D2 Custom, anywhere you can see him on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, go check him out. If you see myself, Patches Reader, anyone with the D2 Custom Guns, make sure you go check him out, and you will thank me later. Now, let's get on to the show. So you've made it to the secret part of the episode in the middle, so you at least made it that far, so good for you for listening this long in Manny Talks Shooting. But guess what? You have a chance to win yourself a dry fire insert from jv-training.com. So the first three people who can send me an email to manny@mannytalkshooting.com and answer this simple question will get a code to redeem a free insert of your choice, free shipping. So guess what? Here's what you got to do. Go and answer this question. How many makeup shots did Mr. John Vlieger have at Single Stack Nationals? Find out the answer. Be the first three. Guess what? Manny@mannytalkshooting.com. Send me that email and good luck. This episode of Manny Talks Shooting is brought to you by jv-training.com. Head over there and check out their dry fire inserts and take your game to the next level. Let's get on to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of the Manny Talks Shooting podcast. Another great episode for you to indulge on the internet because this is where we find them. A reminder, this show is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns, so please go check out d2customguns.com. Go check out all the options that Dan has on the website and contact him and get your build started. But without further ado, we're going to talk to the man who can probably recite the Christmas story just as well as I can on Christmas Eve. It's Billy Herrington. How you doing, Billy?
Hey, good, Manny. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's going to be a good show. And yes, I remember listening to the Casual Shooters podcast when we talked about this, and then I had to send you a message because it's true. It does not stop for a whole 24 hours. It must continue.
That is absolutely true. The bane of my family's existence on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's okay. Braden will eventually learn to recite it himself, so it'll be okay.
Yeah, I hope he carries the tradition on after I'm gone.
Yeah. Have you seen the second one?
I watched part of it.
I made it about 10 minutes.
There's only a few things that have been, the second one has been as good. Top Gun, I will say. The second one was as good as the first one. Christmas Story, I can't say it was as good as the second one was as good as the first one at all.
Yeah. I think most of my favorite scenes are like, it's a clanker. When he's got to run down and go deal with the frickin' boiler down. It's so good.
Oh yeah, he has a mastery of the profane English language that I strive to accomplish. He can really colorfully explain things and describe things and just string them off eloquently.
Yes. And I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had under the kitchen sink space like they had under the sink where his brother could just hide.
Man.
I'm like,
yeah.
What sink do you live under, kid?
No kidding. I wish I had a kitchen that was big sometimes.
Yeah. So people, if you haven't watched The Christmas Story,
got to.
TBS Christmas Eve starting about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 6 p.m. Central Time for all you people who aren't on East Coast privilege time.
Hey.
You got to watch it. I mean, hey, it's okay. It's not like the end of the world. It's only an hour ahead. I'm only an hour ahead. Except it's really annoying when you're trying to watch scores from a match happening in CMP Talladega. And you're like, oh, normally matches start about 8 around here. Oh, no, they can't start till 9, which is really 10 o'clock my time. So I'm like, ugh. And it's just terrible. It's the end of the world. But it's okay. So people of the internet, you might not know Billy. You might have heard him on the Casual Shooters podcast. But, Billy, who are you and how'd you get into shooting?
Well, so I'm like any person, or most people, I guess, from the South. Grew up, playing with guns, shooting guns. Never been much of a hunter. The ADHD in me. I just don't like sitting still for a long time. I don't like the cold. When that white stuff falls from the sky like it does occasionally, maybe once every, I don't know, 10 or so years around here. Everything stops in the South, especially Mississippi. They shut down schools. Everybody goes to the store. They buy up all the milk and all the bread. I don't know what they do with it. They just have milk sandwiches or something. Um, but grew up understanding, respecting firearms, liking to shoot. Um, Never really thought of it in a competitive way. Uh, Spent 24 years in the Army, served in the infantry. So you'd always have the range days and the qualifications. Yeah, a little healthy competition here and there between guys on the range and whatnot. Some friends of mine, as I got nearer to my retirement, I retired in 2020. They were doing it, and it seemed interesting, but I just didn't really have the time. So fast forward to, I don't know, 6 or 8 months after I retired, and was trying to I kind of want to do something. Braden was 14 years old, so I got some YouTube videos. I said, "Hey, yeah, you want to go try this?" I showed him some videos of it, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll try it." And at that point, he had never held a gun or let alone shot one. So it was a crash course for him, and it helped me to kind of remember a lot of the new shooter stuff because I missed the part too that I've been in law enforcement as a reserve and part time and in the training capacity too with them since 2015. So it's different showing somebody who had never shot before versus like showing your child or your son.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to teach him here and there, and I had an old SPO1 Shadow with a Delta Point Pro. That was the hotness, I guess, back in the day when carry optics first came around. He shot that, and I shot a Glock. And that was June of 2021 was our first match. And from then on, we just kind of kept doing it and enjoyed it and wanted to get better at it. And here we are today. He shoots open. I'm still kind of in carry optics and playing around in limited optics right now, but just going 3.5 years now, or almost 3.5 years. We've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it, enjoying it. Uh, I just shot handgun nationals, and that was my sixth major since May. We're shooting fifth major since May. Sixth major, hell, I lost count. We're shooting area 4 next weekend. Then I'll be good for a little while. He's shooting open nationals, so I think he's going to end up being like 7 or so majors for both of us since May. He's a senior in high school and had a pretty long, interesting summer. We've shot everywhere from Colorado all the way over to Area 6, NC sectional, and a few points in between. So it's been pretty fun. Father son hanging out. Traveling, driving, taking one flight because North Carolina just kind of far, and 2 flights, and Colorado's kind of far too. So
Mm-hmm.
but, yeah, it's we kind of something to do, something to be interested in, do together, learn. And learned a lot about shooting and ourselves and each other. That's probably one of the biggest things that I heard from him was he kind of saw me in a different light, uh, saw me learning and dealing with difficulty and struggling on things and overcoming things. Because I always have seen him do it with schoolwork, or he used to run track. He runs track. He used to run cross country. So I've seen him do it, but he'd never really seen me do it. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been kind of the mysterious, parent and whatnot. So I guess it really opened his eyes that, hey, even adults, we set goals and work, and we have setbacks, and we still try to achieve them. And more often than not, we're successful. So
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things of like, not being afraid to fail, but also putting yourself out there to, try something new. It's kind of interesting to see people go through that, especially like, for him, this guy he's always had to look up to, is like, it's dad. He's got it's kind of weird when you're kind of almost like can take away from that and be like, oh, we're kind of random. We're peers essentially on the same squad. Right. So we watch each other and figure it out. Right.
You say peers. Hadn't been peers in a while on the same squad, but yeah, definitely. He pretty well left me behind.
It's those tiny legs. Like
Man,
it's those skinny legs that can run.
he can move. I got him last weekend though, and
Yeah.
I haven't let him forget it yet. So
Oh, that's good.
I got him this past Saturday. So I was like, yeah, the old man come back. So, but
Right.
yeah, he's definitely developed and blossomed very well, and is really taken to it. Loves it. I mean, just dearly loves it, and I'm do everything I can to support him and help him, and I'm enjoying it as much as he is, and I'm
Hmm.
a lot more tired than he is sometimes, but hey, it's worth it.
Do you at least make him drive?
No, I want to live.
Okay. Well, at
Yeah.
least even if you're like exhausted, like I'm still driving, I'm not letting you
Uh,
crash my truck.
no, no, not at all. Insurance, no, no.
Yep.
So,
If you get a ticket, worst come is, hey, buddy, there, you don't want to give me a ticket. Use Jedi mind trick.
yeah,
Calling, calling
my,
a
my,
favor or
my,
two.
my law enforcement ID sits in front of my driver's license for a reason. So,
Yep.
hey, pal, but no, I
I
don't.
wasn't going that fast.
I tend to not speed. So
Yeah. So
you
so
have to
what
pay
is
attention.
so what is the appropriate amount of over the speed limit that it will not get people bothered with?
Well, man. So you want the cop answer? 1 mile over is breaking the law, but
Yeah.
um, for your regular old interstate or highway or whatever, whenever I worked somewhere where we had radar, I always 10 year fine, 11 year mine is kind of the thing I had in my head.
Hmm.
Um, like a school zone, no, don't do
Oh
anything
yeah.
over.
No. If you're speeding in a
Construction,
school zone, you got a problem.
right? Exactly. Use your sense about it. If it's 70 and you're running 80, I don't care. A lot of times, even and I'll tell you too. It's like um, I'll tell people, new brooms sweep the best.
Hmm.
So you get new guys, gals out of the Highway Patrol Academy or state police, whatever they have where you are, or the police
Hmm.
academy. The new broom is going to sweep the best. So you're going to get stopped more often, more than likely.
Hmm.
Not a given rule. It just depends. Um, I never felt my job was to write tickets to people.
Hmm.
I never thought that was conducive. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, how is this going to help? How is this going to modify a behavior? What's going on? It's probably going to end up making it worse.
Hmm.
So I wasn't against it, but I didn't let it be my sole purpose of existence.
Right. There's always the adage or the saying around here. It's like, oh, it's near the end of the month. They got to get their quota. It always
Mm-hmm.
seems, which,
Confirm or deny that.
yeah. But no, yeah. If you're speeding in a school zone, you got a problem. It's usually, and more often than not, what I see get pulled over on the freeway are semis. They're pulling over semis because from Chicago to Detroit, they everyone driving 94. It seems like they pull over semis like all the time, and it's like, are they doing trailer inspections? I don't know. They're
Yeah,
not pulling me over. That's all that matters.
commercial vehicle stuff was not, and hopefully will never be my forte.
Hmm.
It's DOT or Department of Transportation or whoever they are where you are, they have their own like magical playbook that they go by.
Hmm.
You know, I just I prefer, and I have I think 95% of my experience is with a county, sheriff's office,
Hmm.
and that's what I prefer. Um, you're out there a lot of times by yourself,
Hmm.
uh, so it's a lot more, you know, interpersonal. It's you and the county, maybe one other person, and a lot of times it's been just me. Nearest backup, it's like the next county, 20 minutes away. So
Yeah.
you learn to be pretty resourceful and pretty good with your words and your skills, many different ways.
Right. So you said, backup was 20 minutes away, most likely. What do you have a super memorable moment that you want to share?
mm, I mean, there's been some interesting ones.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's one time a lady had a little too much. Uh, how I put it nicely, a little too much illicit substance,
Hmm.
and she decided to climb a tree. And well, it happens, right?
Hmm.
She wasn't wearing anything either, and it's never the great looking ones that are undressed either. Trying to get her to come down out of the tree, she decides to move over to another tree like a squirrel, except that tree was not of adequate size to support her. Yeah, about 25, 30 feet in the air, she came down. Didn't hurt her though. Meth heads are like crackheads. You can't hurt them.
She wasn't feeling nothing.
No, she didn't. I know one New Year's Eve, and it's actually kind of interesting because the next county over, there were two of us out, and the next county over, there was a single deputy, and they had some gunfire, and it was fairly close to our county. We went to back him up from a residence. Another one, I had a cadet. I'll also teach at a police academy. I had a cadet riding with me on a ride along on New Year's Eve, and I always I worked a lot of DUI because I was pretty good at it, and had a guy leave a bar, and the patrons called on him, stopped him, and he took off on me, almost hit me, and we ended up running him down, and he bailed out of the car and started coming towards us, and the cadet just kind of like bah, you know. And I ended up tasing the guy, subdued him, and everything else. And cadet was just like, "Wow, that happened so fast." I'm like, yeah, that's how it works, bud. You got to be ready for anything. Uh, and he ended up being a guy on parole out of Alabama, out of prison over in Alabama. For I think it was domestic violence and assaulting a police officer and another violent felony.
Hmm.
So things like that happen. And I've gotten plenty of domestic calls where I was the only person, just usual run of the mill stuff any cop gets.
Hmm.
Nothing too. Your hair will stand up on the back of your neck every once in a while, but you go there, the female's getting beat up, and you go take the male to jail, and then she jumps on you, and and then the party starts.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, they call you, but then they're like, oh, don't take him away.
Yeah, because they're
You
seeing their
called.
livelihood, get taken away.
Yeah, you called me.
Yeah, and Mississippi, in response to that, they changed the law to where uh, it used to be so like the woman would have to sign, or the man. I've been to those where the male was actually the one being assaulted. Um, the person being assaulted used to be the one that had to sign the charges. So Mississippi changed the law to where the responding officer is now the one that signs the charges against the principal aggressor. So that was a good change
Hmm.
because then he or she can't be like, "Oh, no, I don't want to do anything anymore." No, now they come from the author that determines principal aggressor. So they changed that. I don't know. It's probably 6 years ago.
Well, yes, that is a good change, but fair
Yeah, I thought
enough.
it, I thought it was too. It makes it a little more cut and dry, but it still has its flaws here and there. But it's
Hmm.
not a perfect thing, but it's a lot better.
Right. So you mentioned that you started shooting, competition with a Glock. Did you start with iron sights or did you go straight with a red dot?
So I went with a red dot. I've shot irons, and that's how initially in law enforcement I started with a Glock 22 because what the department had was, the old 40 cal. Then in 2020, I started carrying a 17 MOS with an RMR.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the National Law Enforcement Firearms Instructors Association. I went to their Red Dot instructor course. And that was my first foray into any kind of formal instruction with a red dot, other than going to the range and trying to figure it out myself, which, it was okay. But when I got there, it was a lot better. I got a little, figured out some of the things I was doing wrong, some of the things I could do better. I did that course in, or was that might have been late 19, because in early 2020, right before the pandemic hit in 2020, I went to Scott Jedlinski's Modern Samurai project.
Mm-hmm.
I did that one, and that was very, very good. I enjoyed it. Learned a lot from it. Still reference it in a lot of teaching that I'll do. Is like I'm probably. It's funny that we're even talking about it, because it looks like the end of October, second week in November, somewhere around in there, I'll probably end up having an RDS instructor class for law enforcement at the academy that I teach at too, because one of the agencies, they're needing some more instructors they're probably about to go to red dots in the county I live in. And it's because back in 2020, I kind of was, to me, it was like, when I was in the Army, we went to the Close Combat Optic, or the CCO, on the rifles. And it streamlined everything. It made aiming much more simple. It's one focal plane, you point and click, basically. So I see it on a handgun, and at first I was kind of like, eh. Then I started messing with it. I was like, no, okay. Then I had those two classes to get a little more familiar with it, put a lot more rounds down range with it. I was like, ammo was getting kind of hard to get, about that time. The one place I could find it was Superville.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get ammo through them. It wasn't like it is now, obviously, but I could get it. So I did get what I could, and I was able to go down there and to the range and work and figure more things out on my own. Well, I got to figuring it out that this isn't really the future. This kind of should be the now.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I'm doing it, more and more are coming on board with it. Across law enforcement. And then fast forward to 21. I'm the kind of guy that needs to do something a few times. I'm kind of dumb, I guess you could say. But so I ended up taking Scott's class again, because it was a lot of information, especially new information. So I took it again, and then that's kind of what sparked my interest in competitive shooting, because I got to looking and analyzing things. I was like, well, a lot of these officer involved shootings are similar in scope and the way that they're done. They're similar to a lot of these practical shooting. 1+1 doesn't equal 2 essentially, but a lot of the skills are the same. People get stuck in, like in the Army, they used to get stuck in the 80s in the post-Vietnam era. Well, you're getting kind of stuck in the 90s of, let's just stand here on a linear range and shoot at big pieces of paper and call ourselves qualified and we're ready for anything. Sadly, we're not. So seeing that, and then seeing a lot of other stuff come out about it, I was like, this is where I want to go. This is where I think it should be, and I think this will help me. So I started researching a little bit more, and I was like, well, I wonder if Braden might like to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of led me to him and him into the sport as well. But I kind of did it for my own diversification and to improve myself, not only for competition for law enforcement and even for my own personal carry, because I carry everywhere I go. Because shooting is shooting is shooting. Time on the gun is still proficiency, essentially. So, and I think that all kind of that coupled with and then of course I went and did the goofy NRA instructor, because you have to either that or the FBI course in law enforcement to have the instructor certification to quote unquote be there, have that. And yeah, I can go on a diatribe about all that stuff forever, but it's funny that we're talking about it because I think it was Friday night. A friend of mine is in the police academy, and they were doing their firearms week, and he called me up. I don't want to say he was in tears, but he was almost in a fit of rage because they're jumping on his butt constantly about he's shooting too fast. And I said, "Oh, I know exactly what you're about to tell me." And I said, "But go ahead, please do." And he's doing the box drill. The box drill is pretty easy. It's like 5 or 7 yards. There's 3 targets. You shoot the middle target with 2 rounds, left target, right target, reload, then same thing over again. Standard's 21 seconds. And he's doing it in like 6.5 and getting all the hits. And they're mad at him for doing it too fast. It's because you're out shooting them. Because you're proving, that this concept, this crazy competition or competitive shooting works, and they don't like that. It makes them uncomfortable because they can't do that because they're too caught up in their dogmatic theories of let's shoot slow and accurate. But I told man, look, just get out of there, do what they tell you to do, give them what they want. Then when you come out, you can be the change you want to see. And that's kind of where I am with everything now. Whenever I do teach in-service firearms or I teach firearms instructor classes, I bring that into it. I bring the shoot sooner. I bring the acceptable shots instead of putting every shot into a quarter. We have a whole alpha, or a whole X ring, whatever target we're shooting at. It's okay to hit anywhere in it, not just in the same place. So, kind of my thing that I've been trying to work on, and it seems to be catching on pretty decently around here, especially at the academy that I'm at, and my sheriff's office where I volunteer, and some of the other ones around here that know me and have seen what we do and kind of how I do it.
Well, it's good to see that you are trying to be that light to breathe that change to get rid of that stale dogma about slow shooting.
Yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, but slow is still slow.
Slow is still slow. Well, and I think there's a phrase that Tim Herron says, like, slow is slow, smooth is smooth. So what was it? Slow is still slow, but smooth is still smooth. So do things smoother. I got to find the quote now. It's going to bother me.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember it either.
Oh, there we go. It's slow is slow, smooth is slow is slow. What the? And it's like, shh, no more talking is the end part. That's what it is. It's like something about, shh, no more talking.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yes. So, from the Glock, did you go straight to the CZs?
I did. So I shot the Glock from June of 21 until August of 22. So I ordered a Shadow 2 compact now, a Shadow 2 optics ready, and sent it off to Cajun Gun Works, and I threw an SRO on it, and I sent it probably in April or May of 22. I got it back in right about August of 22. Then I had to learn how to shoot a double action gun, and that was a bit of an interesting side. I'm like I'm sitting there now I don't know, you probably saw the post I made with the parental advisory lyrics about trying to get used to a race holster in 2011. I kind of shelved that for a little bit. I'm kind of feeling the same thing that I felt back then. Getting used to that double action, and then likewise getting used to that single action. It was a bit of a growing pain, but well worth it. I like the gun. I like the platform. I shoot it very well. It took me a little while, uh, to find the holster that I liked for it to be able to draw it consistently. And then when I discovered lock grips and their palm swell, because I have pretty big hands, so I need something to fill that space up. When I discovered those, it's earth-shattering change on how I was able to get a grip on the gun and hold it. So yeah, I worked through it, and I went to that Shadow 2, and I love it. I'm shooting it in LO with a magwell on it now. The only reason I put a magwell on it was because I'm like, well, I'm going to handgun Nats. Let me at least get a little bit more of an advantage than just having it as my CO rig like I had previously done anytime I shot LO. I'm going to shoot NC section, handgun Nats, and Area 4. Might as well just, go ahead and put the magwell on it and be done with it for a little while until it hit the off-season break, and then I'll go ahead and fully swap over to the DS9. That is just, I love the gun. I just don't really, I just need some time with it, to get fully comfortable to where I'm performing with it how I know I can, especially the holster that I'm going to forget to unlock.
Yeah. So speaking of holster, what holster is your DS9 in then?
Everglades.
Oh, okay. Very good choice.
Yeah, I like it. I like the Everglades. I like it. Let me say I forget to unlock it. I also forget to lock it. I think one day I dropped it on the range like 4 times. So, bending over is the only reason I did. Bent over to pick up a pastry gun or magazine or whatever I had dropped. It just saying. I was like, I'm not. So,
Yeah.
And it was hot. It was like July here in Mississippi. Yeah, it was not a very great day. So
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, if I didn't already have a double alpha, because the problem was the Everglades was out of stock when I got into 2011s and race guns, and it's like, and I'm like, oh, if you weren't out of stock when I bought my first race holster, I would have you, but I'm also not really willing to spend another $300 on a new holster.
yeah, they're spendy. But I was talking with Andrew Hyder at Handgun Nats about him, and he's like, and I asked him what he thought about him because I was, kind of debating. I didn't know maybe if it was me or if it was the holster. And if you ever talk with Andrew, he's kind of like, it's you. I'm like, thanks, Andrew.
Just tell him he's short and he's old.
Yeah. I look down at him, but
Andrew's a good buddy
he's
of
younger
mine.
than me, but like so. He uses the Neverglades.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's me. I get it. Brady looks at me. He's like, you don't lock your holster. I'm like, like for my Shadow, it's a Ghost Hydra Plus P. It's a bucket holster, and I'm falling out. I mean, I'm not jumping up and down running or anything,
Right. Exactly. That's one of those things too. It's just like you don't until you get in the habit of doing it. It's forgetful. Like I went to a Steel Challenge match a couple weeks ago, and it was one of the movement stages where you had to move box to box. So I'd lock it after the run. Like I knew every time I put the gun back in the holster. So one string, the gun's locked up. I'm like, why aren't you coming out? And then I'm like, oh, click, and then I can start shooting.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh Lord.
Like, well, I need to do these next 4 strings pretty good.
Well, the worst part is I did it twice.
Oh, man, look, I can't say anything. So I mean, I'm with you. I feel you completely.
I'm not a Steel Challenge person, but yeah, USPSA. And like if there's a multi-string and I'm walking forward, my hand's on that gun no matter what. Like I'm not gonna lock it because I will forget, but I'll just keep my hand on the gun all the way up there because I don't want it to fall out. Not that I don't trust my gun to stay in the holster, but
I just don't trust me.
Yeah.
I trust the gun. I trust the holster. I don't trust me.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm completely with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now because you said you put palm soles on your Shadow too. Does the DS9 feel too skinny to you?
No, it doesn't. MPA, they make their own grips there in Comer. Braden and I were able to go by there on our way to Area 6. And we stopped in there, and I think we were there for 3 or 4 hours and toured the facility. Their grips are fat enough for me to be able to have enough to grab a hold of. So, and I like a very aggressive grip, so I like their S3s that are like a cheese grater on your hands. I use the full weighted brass lock jaws on my CZs, but their S3s are super aggressive. I like that. Braden does as well. So it has enough for me to grab a hold of and hold on to that I'm not having any dead space. I do like that about it. I don't really have a feeling. So I have a couple of staccatos as well, and I don't quite get as good of a purchase on it with my hands as I do, that MPA, and I can tell the difference, in the grip size and everything on it. And when it comes to the 2011 guns, the more forward the thumb rest is for me, the worse it is for me. And I discovered that when I was shooting even the Glock. It didn't have one, but like my CZ, I have the TiVo slide lock thumb rest. And if I can keep my thumbs more in an up, like I'm hitchhiking, I don't drop any rounds. I don't hit low. But like if you put I think they make like an Eamon Tech. I think Zadig Precision makes one. Very good looking thumb rest, but it's just too low and too brings my thumbs too far down, too far forward. For me, a lot of people like them and use them very well. I've tried it. It just doesn't work too well for me. I need mine kind of up. I'm weird, you know.
Well, just how you're used to making that index on your pistols. I mean,
Yeah, and even if I shoot like I shot production to get classified in it, and my thumbs are still up, like I'm hitchhiking. And if I ever notice myself shooting low, it's like when I shoot with law enforcement, I don't have a thumb rest or anything. If I'm noticing my stuff going low, where your thumbs at? Bring it back up. Especially when I first began shooting more accuracy at speed and whatnot, I would notice that as I shoot longer and more often, as fatigue would set in, especially, they would start to settle, and it was one of the things that I worked on. When I shoot before I even had the TiVo stuff, I didn't get the TiVos on my shadows until I think August of 23. So I've only had those for about a year. But yeah, the fitment of the grips for me for the MPAs are great, and I've shot others like some other open guns, and even their grips didn't really fit my hands that well. The exception was probably, I think, Infinity grips were pretty good. I've felt those, and I've held those. They fit well. Limcat, I didn't really care for their grip too much, but big-handed guy. So
right, and it's all personal preference and hand size. But
for
so
sure.
I've messed with a couple S3s, and I've even talked to Caleb about it. I'm like, you can keep it sharp on the sides, but the front and the back, like if you just buff it down just a little bit, guys, like.
Oh yeah. Well, you can get you like an India stone, and knock that rough texture off the front, and maybe even kind of where the meat part where your index finger and your thumb hit, like where you're kind of pinching. You probably take it. I know one guy took an India stone and knocked his down a little bit in those two spots, and oh man, he loves it now. I mean, it was eating his hand off pretty good, but
Yeah.
okay.
Well, if people dry fired more, they'd have hand calluses and they wouldn't have to worry so much. But
I'm telling you the same thing. I've got them from the old CZs. So
well, and I had a buddy who had like a prototype lockjaws, and I'm like, this is like razor. This is like I'm getting stuck with a syringe every time. I'm like, come on, just like one pass. Like that's all I need. But the lockjaws are grippy. That's for sure.
yeah, you better have it where you want it when you grab it. I know some people will put it on one side and then put like the gridlock on the other. To have so their support hand can move a little bit, or vice versa, or whatever. They'll tailor to their preference. I just got lock jaws on both sides, and the magwell is the gridlock pattern because they didn't have a lockjaw magwell. But man, whatever, it doesn't really matter too much. I don't notice any difference with it.
Brass is brass. It's just
Yeah. It's heavy. I think I weighed it. It was just under 54 ounces.
Sad as your carry optics gun is heavy, if not heavier than my open gun. You should feel ashamed of yourself.
59 is what I got. So
I know.
CO Nats, I was 53 points, 53.9, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the gun that I have that's milled for an optic. It's not the optics ready.
Mm-hmm.
So the OR is going to be a little bit heavier because the slide's a little thicker.
Right.
So it'd probably be over 54.
Yeah. And it's more interesting. The fact is, like, when I go to chronograph, like, I know the guys who will run nationals chronograph and like all the area matches that I go to, they're just like, oh, it's you, mag, please. I'm like, then hand me your gun. It's like they don't even do like an equipment check. They're like, you're fucking fine. Like, I don't know why you're even here. I have to be here if I want to score.
Yeah, so kind of have to be,
Yeah. I mean, this is where I'd also like if it would be really cool if we went to like IPSC style, like everyone did a pre-check, like an equipment pre-check. So then you only had to go to chronograph if you had issues, like for ammo and stuff. Like that's what I would like. I mean, but then you'd also have people stationed there that weren't, they wouldn't really have a main job. They'd just be like, we're waiting for somebody to show up if they need us. But
with the whole chrono thing, I'm a fan of. I don't know what I'm a fan of. One of two ways: either having like a random number generator and 33% or whatever percent number of the people in the match, whenever they're done shooting whatever stage randomly, that RO goes up, unload, show clear hammer down, holster, and they stick their hand out, hand me 8 rounds, put it in an evidence bag, seal it, and it goes to chrono.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a way, That's kind of how North Carolina did it, the North Carolina section. But you did know it was after stage 1, so you knew when you got done shooting stage 1, the RO, when you unloaded, show cleared, and then you holstered. He stuck his hand out. You popped 8 rounds out of your magazine right then into his hand, and he put them into a seal bag, and he sealed it and handed it to you, and you walked over to Chrono with that sealed bag and handed it to him at Chrono. I kind of like that. It keeps the honest people honest. Makes everything fair and equitable across the board. If you do it after stage, then I guess everybody would know what stage it is. If you did like a random number and a certain percentage, that could be a way too. I don't think I have a perfect answer. You don't have a perfect answer for anything really, but it may be worth a shot.
Right. Well, and everybody shooting major, at least open guns, their gun will not really run on sub major. It's like, don't even bother. Like, sure, check my mag, see if my mag is too big. That's about it. Like my gun can't run my gun will run sub major, but it doesn't run optimally. Like, so it's like if I really wanted to practice a lot and make my powder stretch, yeah, I could drop that really low, but why risk that at a major? So, and I'm the weird person who has a little mini bag set up, and it's got and I even print out a card with my name, my division, and all this. I fill it out pre-fill it out, and just whenever people ask for chrono ammo, I just chuck it in. It's not like the special box of chrono ammo because that's super suspicious. But it's like, here, don't waste your bag. I got you. Here's a bag. Like,
Yeah.
well, and I hate going to the first stage and it's like 8 rounds, please. I'm like, here you go. It's already done. Like, I just need to throw it at you when I get there because it's how I like to be prepared, though. That's just me, though.
Oh yeah. I'll usually have it. I'll just pull out of my loose, my loose box or whatever I have. What I hate though is I load all my mags and everything before I go.
Yep.
So I'm not having to, and I don't load at the match because I've got 20 or whatever CZ magazines, 25 I think it is. And what I hate is like, so at Handgun Nats, Chrono was with stage 1, ironically, like it was at NC sectional, and I was last, like one of the last 3 in the shooting order. So they said, "Oh, like, it was me and 2 others. Y'all go ahead and go to Chrono now. Take an empty magazine with you." I'm like, damn it,
Yeah, you got to unload a magazine.
Unload a magazine, carry it over there. I'm like, all right, whatever, big deal. It doesn't matter to me. All of mine make it. I don't care.
Right.
Walked over there with my 8 rounds. And I already had my certified. I already turned in, at registration. So, I made it. Surprise, surprise. So.
Right. Exactly. And that's my one thing. I always have my bags loaded. Like, I'll load my bags the night before and be like, I'm ready to start shooting. So we'll sit like after we do the brief, I'm like, all right, I'll do my stage walks, put all my gear on at some point between after the stage walks and when I'm called to the line. I'm not one of those guys who loads mags when we get there. I'm like,
no, have all that stuff done the night before, be ready to go when I get there. It takes one less thing out of there, less stress. I can focus on what I'm there to do. And I'm not there to load mags. I'm there to shoot mags.
Right. Thank you for checking out another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, please go patronize our partners when you are available. We have always, as the title sponsor, D2 Custom Guns. We've got Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, 2 Alpha Apparel, Range Panda, Laugh and Load, Hunter's HD Gold, and Southern Bobby Q. Now, thank you. Let's get on with this episode. So you've made it to the secret part of the episode in the middle, so you at least made it that far, so good for you for listening this long in Manny Talks Shooting. But guess what? You have a chance to win yourself a dry fire insert from jv-training.com. So the first 3 people who can send me an email to manny@mannytalkshooting.com and answer this simple question will get a code to redeem a free insert of your choice, free shipping. So guess what? Here's what you got to do. Go and answer this question. How many makeup shots did Mr. John Vlieger have at Single Stack Nationals? Find out the answer. Be the first 3. Guess what? Manny@mannytalkshooting.com. Send me that email and good luck. So speaking, we've been talking a little bit about handguns. So how did you feel the match was overall?
Man, I liked it. Now, I don't know if it was because of the way I approached it. Maybe my mental mindset for it. Maybe that's a whole different issue or a whole different discussion. But as far as the match itself, how it was ran, how it was, the stages and the designs, I was thoroughly pleased with it. Well, I looked at the match book initially, and I think some people may have done the same thing. Like, only 16 stages? Well, let me tell you, a 440 round count, 16 stage match is a lot of shooting. There were only 2 stages, less than 20 rounds, if I remember right. That was 14 and 15, and they were 16 and 17 rounds. They had only had 2 split bays, so it was very well. Very well done. And it wasn't a total, just, you've got to be super great, fundamentally sound, super duper expert guy to snipe, 40-yard mini poppers with, half hardcover steel, at the bottom. Yeah, it wasn't anything like that. It was, I think it was a great mix of fundamental shooting skills, decision making, and execution. And a lot of the stages, there were multiple ways you could run them. I can think off the top of my head, like off the top of my head, 4 or 5 or 6 of them you could run 2 to 3 different ways, and all were very valid. And I can see it. It makes it very, very valid because you got guys that are shooting low cap, and you got guys that are shooting, limited optics. The difference between iron sights and a dot. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
6 or 8 rounds in a revolver, or the single stacks up to the 24 rounds or 25 rounds at the start with the LO guns. So, I thought it was very, very well designed stages, very, very well done. And I'd even echo that back to Carry Optics Nationals, because it was the same person or people that did both of them. They did an outstanding job, I thought, on both. And I was just really, really impressed with the way they did them, especially in comparison to last year. I didn't shoot handgun NAS last year. I only shot CO NAS last year. So comparing both of these to that, I think it was a home run, very much. It was fun to shoot. I enjoyed shooting it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, and I agree. Todd and his group did a very good job of planning carry optics and handgun this year. Yeah, Matt Hopkins was able to turn stage 16 from my idea into something better, so I was happy with that. So, yeah, so he was able to he brought my idea to life.
That's you.
Well, yeah, I'm that guy.
I like stage 16.
Yeah, well, and I've got many. So I've designed many variations of that too. Where because I've even have it as there's a version at one point. I think my original intent version was that, but I didn't submit that one to Matt. Was barrels everywhere, like tape, like so everyone there was mags everywhere. So it's like figure out where you want to fucking load your gun, and you could make the stage completely different. But but that. I'm gonna tweak that version. I think a version of that stage I want to tweak a little bit and make it a little bit different, but we'll see. But no, I like how Matt was able to take my ideas, and the swinger and bobber were out there a little far. I'll say that.
No, so there were the farthest shots in the match. If off the top of my head, if I remember, there may have been a mini popper on one that was close, ish, or the same or close. So the swinger and the bobber were 25, and the activators were 30. But they were full size poppers at 30, and one of them had the steel hardcover from the calzone down. Just at the bottom of it. I looked at that like you could go left or you could go right. I went left. Yeah. I liked the way it flowed better for me. It's a passing lane. Is kind of how I looked at it and thought of it. You can sink or swim, or you can just kind of stay the course. I just kind of stayed the course on it. I wasn't super stellar, but I didn't sink either. It was. I think it was very well designed and very well thought out. And if that was a collaboration, between the two of y'all, I think both of you did a great job on it. That's the kind of stuff that you, at least around my area, you don't see. You don't see things like that. So the only time that we get to see things like that are going to majors and or nationals. One and the same, but that level of difficulty, I think, presents a unique challenge and a chance, an opportunity that you can, seize on.
Yeah, it definitely those more challenging stages do give everyone the opportunity to show their skills or what they've got or what they don't. And it's nice to see. It all depends on where you're from at too. Like depending on what area or what state you're in, the flavor is completely different, right? Like, so what I find up here where I'm from, longer, farther shots, more difficult shots are very apparent. It's like sometimes we put too much distance into a match. Like, oh, this whole stage is pretty much at 25 yards, so there's no real. It's about that accuracy more than the speed of efficiency of what you can get it done, because the person who drops a mic is really going to be suffering on that stage because the hit factor is super low. What we don't see a lot of is hosing stages. Like,
Right.
It's very rare to see a true hosing stage. Like I mean, and I say this, but our local club has decided, oh, it's our October match coming up next month. It's going to be a hoser match. So I'm like, okay, let her rip. Your people are still going to be throwing mics because they're going to go right between targets.
They're gonna get so happy that they're gonna be like, ah.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm not super familiar, with IPSC, but some of the little things that I've seen is that like kind of like that 3-2-1 format that they use, with the short, mediums, and longs. I don't think that's too terrible of a model because using that short can give you that ability to put those in there. The quote unquote hoser stages. Some people don't like them. You know, I guess you could look at like stage 5 as that fixed time stage. Yeah, it was a 20 round course. It was 10.7 seconds fixed time. It was very doable. Well, unless you're me and you decide to shoot a target 3 times like a dummy. But hey, whatever. I wasn't the only one that did that because I did see some other people with a P out there. So yeah, but there were a few that were, I don't want to say not true hosers, but gave you the opportunity to speed up. But I think one of the overarching themes on a lot of it was, and even on stage 16, it sped you up to slow you down, and I think a lot of that is in ways is a good direction, because it's going to reward you for being able to have that control in a discipline, especially in your eyes and doing what you do. But it's also going to penalize you when you don't. It's unique, and I saw a lot of that at Caryoptics Nationals. It's yeah, I'm not shooting open nats, but I'll be there. It's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. It's just going to be interesting to see, knowing that it's going to be a different crew and different designs and everything. It's going to be intriguing to see how it's going to shape up.
right. Well, you get to be the whole caddy. You're going to be the caddy for the whole squad.
Oh yeah.
Just make sure to fill their mags to random numbers, though.
I'll put some dummies in there somewhere,
Well, I don't know if I'd do that. I'd just be like, oh, your big stick, it's only getting 23.
put some dummies in and say, we're going to work malfunction drills today, boys.
Oh. No, yeah, you do that to Braden and be like, never talk to you ever again.
No. Disclaimer, I'm not going to do that.
No.
Never do that. They'd kill me.
How was it having a caddy? Or did your caddy just hang out with other people?
What do you think?
Oh, yeah. He wasn't with Dad. He was out doing whatever.
Yeah, he would come by. He'd come around. He'd watch me shoot. He'd watch the other, because I was the whole squad, and there were, with the exception of a few, were all MPA guys. Caleb and David, Greg and Travis. Mike was there. So he'd come by and hang out, and he'd watch me shoot, watch them shoot, and we had a really good squad. We'd always, encourage each other and cheer for each other and pat each other on the back and give each other a hug whenever we needed it, because we needed it a few times. I know I did. But yeah, he was there. He was helping Lauren out with the booth or the tent over at the vendor area, and the demo guns, and the couple of new ones that they got coming out. They had there at the demo booth, the demo tent and everything. Let people go over and shoot them at the steel plates and all that fun jazz. So he had a blast doing all that. So
right now, oh yeah, so he hung out with them and Lauren and all that. Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I remember what my question was now. How much chocolate cake did you eat while you were there?
Yeah. Let's see. I just had the one piece. I can't be. I'm not Joey. I don't have the metabolism, of a squirrel, like he does and like Braden does. I ate the one from Cheesecake Factory, I believe it was. I think it was. I think it was Cheesecake Factory. No, or was it? No. That was. See, matches are running together. That might have been North Carolina. Where was it? No, that I did have a piece. I went over to the Airbnb where they all were, and they had gotten a big chocolate sheet cake. I think I ate 2 pieces. Matter of fact, so that's kind of gotten to be kind of the ritual, I guess. Joey is a big chocolate cake fan, as you probably know. It's kind of his good luck thing, and Braden's adopted it as well. So I'm gonna twist my arm, be chocolate cake, right? So I try to eat it in moderation. Gotta watch my figure as best I can.
Right. You don't want to eat too much chocolate cake.
No, it's man. I hit 40. And it doesn't come off like it used to. It definitely goes on, but yeah. But I'll sit there. I'll have it with him, and those two. I sit there and watch Joe eat about half of one. It's like I don't know how to do. I don't know where he puts it. But,
yeah, that hollow leg he's got, right?
yeah. I don't know. I was watching him shoot stage 16 on the last day, the last stage of the day. The leg's not hollow. That joker's all muscle.
Yeah, he is. So, speaking of Joey, did you first meet Joey at that class in Lima?
No. First met him in person Open Nats last year. I had previously bought some processed brass from him when he had Action Brass, and had spoken with him a few times, and then met him in person at Open Nats, last year, and then chit chatted here and there, back and forth, and then actually, I guess took the class with him in Lima back in February. Him and Braden had talked and kind of become, I guess, Instagram buddies, whatever you want to call it, and talking back and forth. And in April, Braden had gotten sponsored by MPA, so they were kind of in the same group and everything, group messaging and all that kind of stuff, with MPA. Joey and I, we chat, talk back and forth, about this, that, or another. Then CO Nats came around, and we went up there, and I met up with him, and we spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours at his range over in Oxford. I was doing a little tune up, little warm up on the Wednesday before CO Nats. Just getting everything dialed in and tuned up, ready and warmed up, and then we went and did CO Nats, and we just been friends here and there and everything else. Yeah, just hanging out, chilling.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
No. Good. He's a good guy. Pretty knowledgeable. Shooting, fitness, all around great guy. Anybody that's asked me, I know he came down to Louisiana a few months back, and some of the guys over there asked me, about him. I was like, yeah, you absolutely want to have him come down because he can do in a day. He can do so much in a day with you. As far as a lot of the basic type things that he did to get himself to where he is, with some of the things that he figured out, learned. He can help you to, just the movement stuff, especially. And that, for me, I've always felt that was kind of my weakest point. And, he's helped me a lot with that.
Yeah, it definitely, he definitely, I see where he's able to give people a lot of gains, and it's quite interesting because he mostly does, it seems like, 1-day classes, right? Unless he's teaching with Steve. So it's not like you're gone the whole weekend.
Right. Yeah. He kind of really, I guess, prides himself a lot in that 1 day, and he really packs that 1 day in. And I'll even, having taken, Braden and I were in the first one that he did joint with Steve, and that even having done and taken all the stuff that Braden and I had taken that class was still with him and Steve was just absolutely just. It was great. I don't care what level you are, or what you've done, how long you've been doing it. It's still so much information and knowledge, it will benefit anybody. If especially especially if you're new, a new person that doesn't really like. I wish I could have taken that in June of 21 when we started. It would have saved so much time, so much wondering, and figuring out that I wouldn't have wasted. Well, I don't say waste, but I don't mean it like that. I mean, it would have saved all that time between June of 2021 and February of 23. I would have been kind of just, I guess, wandering aimlessly in search of what I really wanted to get out of the sport or where direction I wanted to go. If that makes sense. Somebody that's new to the sport that doesn't really know what they don't know. That's kind of where I was for a long time, especially with having Braden and him kind of looking to me as to where to go, and I really didn't know. I mean, that class with Steve and Joey is just, I mean, it's phenomenal. It'll right the ship and get you going. If you've been doing it for a long time and you just feel stagnant, or you maybe want to make a jump or a move or a leap or whatever it is, perfect, great one.
Yeah, and I do I like the fact that Steve's out there. He's teaching more classes, moving around, and he's doing things with Joey. Wasn't he just there in your neck of the woods? Steve was in your neck of the woods last weekend.
Yeah, he was just at my house. He left here Monday morning.
Did he take your dog?
No, the dog's still over here, sleep next to me.
Okay, so at least your dog hasn't abandoned you.
No, he keeps coming over and nudging me. That's why you see me look down. It's him nudging me. But yeah, he came here Thursday, and then did a 3-day class. Did mental management on Friday, and then went to the range for a few hours after that to put it into practice. Then did a match mode coaching in a match on Saturday. Then Sunday did some of his advanced stuff and class stuff and shot calling, accuracy, speed mode, and his other kind of class work like that all day Sunday. So
how many rounds did Braden go through in the 3 days?
I don't want to talk about it.
It's okay. He has to replenish them with his arms, so at least it's he burns them up. He's got to reload them.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. He probably went through about 600-700.
Oh, okay. That's not terrible. That's Right.
So
yeah, and I want to take it a second time. I've taken it once. But I took it literally right when I got in the sport. Funny enough, that's how I met Mr. Andrew Hyder. We both were on the same mental management call. I booked it with Steve, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have a top national contender guy on here too." I'm like, "Okay." So of course, Hyder's got this really long beard, and I thought when I saw him, and then I saw him in July later that year. I'm like, I thought you'd be taller because his beard was so long. And but no, he's a good dude, and he's been a friend ever since. But no, I really thought he was going to be taller because of how proportionally his beard was. But
oh yeah, I love Andrew. We hit it off pretty good at the Airbnb. He's like, "You and I are gonna be really good friends." I was like, "Oh yes, we will."
Yeah, a little pervert, a little bastard.
yeah. I did 24 years in the infantry, and I was like, "Yeah, you have not seen anything yet, there, buddy."
Yeah, exactly. But
man, he's a wealth of knowledge too. I mean, he was talking about spring rate return and everything and open guns, and I'm sitting there like, okay.
Yeah, he can talk, and he sometimes forgets when he tells it. I'll say this: he sometimes forgets that he's told the story or the tidbit of that. I'm like, you don't want to be like, "Hey, this is the third time you've told me this." I got it now. No, just kidding. I love him, but
that's good though. He needs to tell me things like that 3 times so I'll remember it. Yeah, it's not him.
Let me write. It's like, or send it to me in an email or something, so then I at least can pull it back. But
I'll listen to him talk about that stuff, and then I'll tell Braden, listen, you need to learn this. My dumb ass doesn't shoot open, So.
Well, and then for me, like even going back to like the mental management thing, my directive affirmation should be completely different than it was originally, and that's one of the things I've not brought back. I haven't done. One, I'm terrible. I keep talking to JBL about filling out the book or the
journal.
The journal, and I'm like, that's not how I process things. I do not process things in a written format. Like, I'm much more of an audio visual learner, not a reading learner. So that's why I like, not that I don't say the journal won't work, but that's my like leap of faith against it is like, I don't like to write. My handwriting sucks. But 2, I just don't like writing, and it's not how I remember things, I guess. Now, if I found a format to make the journal digital and like like vlog style the journal, I might be able to retain it and go back to that memory or whatever. But I just haven't been able to make the journal stick.
Yeah, so I was kind of the same way. I don't write the neatest in the world either, but so when I write the journal, it's literally it's written in big words. So I don't write it like you'd write I guess writing within the lines. I don't do that. So like in the part where it talks about what I did or whatever it is, it's like today today I ran my mental process and saw what I needed to see and shot at my ability. That's it. It's just those few words like that, and I understand the reasoning behind it is, it ties into the mental and emotional value in the brain centers, and just a little bit of writing. And it also gives you that log of being able to go back. And Lanny Basham, is a proponent of the writing part of it because it's connecting you to it. So I know some people would rather type it. Some may want to, vlog it or dictate it. I don't know how well it would work. I mean, because just do what him told, and, and it worked. So that's how I did it.
Right. It's just kind of like how Forrest Gump does it. Stupid is or stupid does, Mom always said.
Yeah, that's it. That's my box of chocolates. So.
I like running. I just don't.
I'll be the one that goes out there and sticks my tongue to the cold flagpole.
I double dog dare you.
Triple dog dare you.
Oh, you broke etiquette there.
I did. That's it. Yeah.
Please don't. People, if you live in a cold climate, please don't put your tongue on a flagpole. Unless you want the whole fire department, the police, the police officers to come and pull you off the pole.
That's it. But so that's kind of, I guess, my take, and that's also Steve's take on the journal. And I've gotten now to where I will go back and look at it more, and I'm beginning to even more so understand the value in that, especially having like a training journal as well. And it's not as formal. I'll just write down what I've done as far as like I went out yesterday, matter of fact, and I'm starting to work more on transitions, and I'm writing down what I did when I found success, and what that success looked like. So it's building the positive imprints and training, and that's one of the biggest downfalls that we'll have. And I know what I did wrong. I know what I've done wrong, and that's pretty obvious. So what do I need to do to fix that? I can either become an expert in my failure, or I can try to become an expert in my success, and then have my success continue. And that's what I'd
Right.
rather do. I'd rather become an expert in doing it right.
Right. So I'll speak to mental fortitude a little bit on this right now. So I was at a local match on Sunday, shooting a guy who at major matches, he always seems to beat me. Well, one, I shoot on staff day. So I'm always kind of shooting my stages a little more like we're getting our stages in, and there might not be the best plans be found yet because we're staff. And I mean, it's not that I can't stage plan pretty well, but there's a little less, there's less mistakes sometimes. So he ends up edging me out purely on just being able to be a competitor instead of a staff member. But he was at the local match, so he was on the squad ahead of us. So I was shooting every stage I had shot other than the first one. He had already been shooting. So he'd come up to me and be like, "Yeah, man, I had an XYZ hit factor." I'm like, "Okay, cool." At first, I was like, "Okay, kind of just block this, keep talking, but kind of like ignore the details and stop getting it. Like, don't let it leach into the mental process right here."
Mm-hmm.
But then, after he left, it kind of got into me, and I'm like, I had to really actively turn like shut that program down to be like, no, just shoot your stage. Don't worry about a time or a hit factor. Don't worry what he's doing. Just focus on how I'm shooting. And I actually beat everybody in the local match in open division purely by just being way more consistent than the rest of them because I only won one stage, but I won that stage by 27%.
Damn.
Well, yeah. So, and that was the scary part. I beat him by 27% on the stage, which then gave me a 9% overall buffer between all of them. But I only had won the one stage, but the rest was 98%, 97%, 96%. And then I had like an 88 and like a 89. And I'm just like, well, I guess my system kind of worked because I still beat you, even though I didn't have any spectacular runs by any means because Lord have mercy.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you, you demonstrated the part, concerning the conscious mind. You knew what to think about, and you were able to control your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
He came in there talking, and you were able to acknowledge it, shut it down, change your focus to your thoughts, what you needed to think about, and allow your subconscious to take over and control your skills.
Mm-hmm.
And give you the performance that you're capable of. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, that's what Steve teaches. That's what he he hopes that everybody can do, and he gives you the tools to do it with. It's just up to us to get out of our own head. And one of the hardest things for me was, coming from 24 years in the Army, negative reinforcement and is it, it's the hardest thing to get past, the hardest thing to get over, and I still will catch myself slipping into it sometimes. It's, I mean, when it's ingrained in you as deeply and as long and as hard as it has been, it's really easy to catch yourself. Well, it's not as easy to catch yourself, but when you do catch yourself, it's like, hold on, stop, time out, take a deep breath, step back, let's reset. We know what's going on. It's really easy to come back and get everything changed back around, and to focus on what we're doing right, how to do it right, and to be right. Get away from that negativity, and not be an expert in getting it wrong. Because up until I took middle management the first time, I was an expert in getting it wrong because I would let all those things carry over to the next stage or to the next match or and everything else. Now, I acknowledge the miss, or I acknowledge the no shoot, or I acknowledge I messed that part up. Next time I will. Then I reload and I go on.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to reload, repeat, and move on, it definitely helps. Now, this is why I never look at scores while I'm shooting because it just doesn't help me. Sometimes I'll look at the tablet and be like, okay, my hit, like say I'm shooting with the GM, I'm like, okay, my hit factor is relative here. Not even that we're shooting the same division, but I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not even competing with them anyway because they're shooting carry optics and I'm shooting open division. But I'm just like, okay, I didn't screw the pooch too bad. I guess it's like one of those. I'm like, okay, because I don't really like, worrying about how to shoot a stage, very where you're at in the points. It never works out right.
I think there are instances when it can, and I think at a certain point we'll have to. I used to not either. I used to not look at the scores and whatnot while they were occurring because it would give me a bad imprint. It would give me a it, and sometimes I still will as far as how I'm feeling, as far as not being fast enough or not being able not having my just not being fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, I'll be 46 in November. I got into this kind of late. Um, but now I'm starting to look at them, and I'm beginning to understand the value uh, in those because I can start to see anomalies. And one of the greatest ones that I didn't notice uh, because I couldn't notice it because we shot the stage. Literally, we were the first squad to shoot the stage at Handgun Nats with
Mm-hmm.
stage 11, and I didn't know it until the match was over because the Super Squad guys didn't shoot it until day 3. Was the availability of a steel target from a position that didn't know about. Now I don't know if I would have tried to shoot it or not. Maybe I wouldn't because it was the first stage of the match, and maybe my mindset may have been let me get my first stage down, good solid run. You set the tempo, set the pace, set the mindset, get all that going right. But then again, scared money don't make money either sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but seeing it now, that's why guys were 2 seconds faster than guys like Mike Wong and those other guys because they were able to skip a whole position that I don't know if it was in the stage design that way or the intent, but it is what it is. It was there. I mean, it's fine. That's the way. Hey, you shoot what you see, right? I don't have a
Mm-hmm.
problem with it at all.
Right.
But if I would have, been after, and said, well, why are all these dudes doing it like this and that? I think there's some value in it, and I'm not a proponent of pushing per se, but I think at some point there will be some value, especially when you start looking at like hit factor math. If the average hit factor is running like 5, it can let you know the time you have to make up something. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the value is really in that, especially for minor. Having 4/10, for a Charlie makeup, or having the 8/10 for a Delta or the it's second and a half or 2 seconds, whatever it is, not doing the math to make up a potential mic.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of value in having that stuff, especially. So I'm beginning to ease into that part of it and trying to understand more of it as I go along. But I'm also trying not to overprocess the brain too much.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to keep things pretty well subconscious while the conscious mind stays centrally fixed on one thing while I shoot. So
Mm-hmm.
I totally get where you're coming from, and yeah, I don't disagree with you either. So
Right.
I'm starting to try to foray into that side a little more because I am kind of beginning to see the value of it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Billy, we're kind of near the end of the time I had kind of allotted for us to hang out today. Is there
Cool.
any kind of final words you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, man, I appreciate you reaching out to me and we were able to make it. I'm glad your power stayed on this time.
Dude, that was so bizarre. Like it went out. I want to say it went out
When did it come back on?
8:01.
Well,
And I'm just like,
you know.
I'm already comfy, but no, it was more like 8:10. But no, it was
Yeah.
like 4:30. It just shut off. So one of the fuses across town on a power transformer blew, and which was weird. Some of like some of my things still had juice for a while until like the power dissipated out of that phase.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just bizarre because like my fridge was still on, but I didn't have house lights. My stove, like the little clock was trying to tick, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just flashing, but it wasn't like how it would like normally if it would just like power surged, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like super pulse. It was weird. It was so bizarre. And the Alexas got all screwed up. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
My Amazon stalkers in the corner of the room. Um,
That's right. Yes.
but I was, but no, I was glad we were able to make this work, and you still had free
Yeah, me
time
too.
this week. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. And listeners, Get out and do things. We're going to see you on the next one.